Will there be an agreement to release the hostages, or will there be an operation in Rafah, in the Gaza Strip? What awaits the IDF down the road as the psychological warfare of Hamas continues with the release of another video showing 2 hostages alive? Meanwhile, the American project to build a temporary port in Gaza City is beginning to take shape. Let's dive into the details together. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 205th day of the war between Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. The IDF has already announced that it has completed the preparations and assigned the forces for action in Rafah, and is now waiting for the order to proceed from the political echelon. As of this moment, the order has not yet been received, and the exact timing of the operation is not known. However, the security establishment can't already determine that the threat of an operation in Gaza is causing Hamas to worry about everything related to the hostage deal, and this is a particular critical stage. There are a few different possibilities, including a humanitarian deal that's been proposed by the Egyptians, which would see 33 hostages released, and the operation in Rafah would be delayed, possibly even cancelled. Israel has said that the decision about whether or not to take this option is in the hands of Hamas, but the IDF is ready to carry out whatever instructions come from the political echelon of Israel. If Hamas accepts the Egyptian proposal and releases the hostages, the operation in Rafah might be called off. But if Hamas rejects the proposals, as they've already rejected several other proposals in the past, then the IDF will be ready to execute the plan to move into Rafah. If and when the decision to enter Rafah is made, the operation will take place in stages. The first stage will see the IDF taking preliminary steps to prepare for larger operations, and then the evacuation of as many of the 1.2 million Palestinian civilians in the city, those that are willing to leave, will begin. Around 150,000 have already moved north to Khan Yunis in recent weeks. After as many of these civilians as possible have been moved out, the main IDF effort will begin. The IDF estimates that the battle in Rafah will not be quick or easy, as Hamas and other terrorist organizations have had several weeks to prepare for the IDF operation. Hundreds of survivors from previous battles have made their way into Rafah and been reorganized into new units to reinforce the 4 battalions Hamas had already stationed there. Hamas knows that control of this city is crucial to the remaining in power in the Gaza Strip, as it sits on the smuggling routes into Egypt, which is where most of their money and weapons come from. On the other hand, it is true that at this moment Israel does not have a plan for the day after the battle in Rafah, but there is reason to believe that Israel is looking for an alternative to Hamas to exert security control and civil government in the area in order to guard the Philadelphia corridor and prevent the continuation of smuggling that Hamas benefits from. It is hard to make decisions, especially about the Middle East, but I believe that after Hamas has been defeated and disbanded, we will see an orderly transition with American assistance to a new order in Rafah and rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip and its residents. Keep spreading the truth with us, share and follow us. Take a minute of your time and press the follower button. Subscribe to this YouTube channel so that we can all give the truth its rightful place. In a related story, the Pentagon has announced that the work to construct a temporary pier for delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza has begun. Official announcements about this project from the US and Israeli governments are careful to avoid referring to it as a port. Some American sources think it's possible that this temporary pier would become permanent. The Pentagon's briefing on Thursday stated that the pier should start operating at the beginning of May. In its initial stages, it will be able to accommodate the movement of about 90 trucks a day, and later it could increase to as many as 150 trucks per day. In practical terms, this means that even after this pier is operating at full capacity, the majority of goods coming into the northern part of the Gaza Strip will have to move through the land terminals from Israel. These terminals, which includes inspections to ensure that no weapons or anything else that might be useful to the terrorists is moving through, can move about 300 trucks into the Gaza Strip every day when everything is running smoothly. The opening of these terminals was done with the guidance of the political echelon and following the international pressure created due to the reports of a humanitarian crisis and famine in Gaza. Getting back to the progress on constructing this temporary pier, 2 days ago, it was reported that Hamas terrorists fired mortars at forces, including some American engineers, that arrived in the area where the pier is being built. The US military announced that it will respond to any attack against the construction works in Gaza. According to the IDF spokesman, the pier and the facilities for unloading supplies will cover an area of approximately 270 dunams. Primarily work was done in recent weeks by the Engineering and Construction Division of the Ministry of Defense and led by the Southern Command of the IDF in cooperation with the US Army Corps of Engineers. Other agencies involved include the Engineering Department, the Coordinator of Government Operations in the Territories, and the Logistics Envelope of the Technology and Logistics Division. About 1,000 soldiers from the US Army will be deployed to build the pier, which will include a marine dock for large ships to unload their cargo, which will then be moved along a 550-meter floating highway to the shore facilities. The work of building this pier itself will be carried out entirely by Americans, and this will include ships from the US Navy providing offshore security and logistical support. The establishment of the pier was an initiative announced by the US President Joe Biden in his State of the Nation speech 2 months ago. In his speech, he emphasized the importance of increasing the rate of humanitarian aid transferred into Gaza, both from the sea and from the land, through Israel. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office claimed that he was the one who initiated the idea last October. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has also welcomed the American initiative and said that it would enable the transfer of aid directly to the residents and thus promote the overthrow of Hamas. If you would like to take an active part in sharing the truth with us and helping us by creating more videos like this every day that will come to you, please consider making a donation to us through the link at the bottom of the screen, or go to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. And together we can make sure that the truth reaches the rest of the world. Although there is less shooting between IDF soldiers and Hamas terrorists at the moment, Hamas has begun to attack Israel in other ways, including through psychological warfare. This includes releasing videos of hostages who were kidnapped on October 7th and continue to be held in captivity. In the last 24 hours, a video was released showing Keith Siegel and Amri Merin. Siegel is 64 years old and was abducted from his home in Kfar Gaza together with his parents, Aviva Adriani Siegel. She was released last November after 51 days in Gaza. Merin, 47 years of age, was kidnapped from his home in Nahal Oz in front of his family. The latest video comes a few days after publishing Sign of Life from the kidnapped Hirsch Goldberg Polin. We will not assist Hamas in their psychological warfare by broadcasting the sounds in these videos, but I will tell you that Keith speaks first, telling his family that it is very important to me that you know that I am fine, and I very much hope that you are too. He stated he has very nice memories of last year's Passover, and I hope we all have the best possible surprise. During his time speaking to the camera, Omri Miran told his family that he misses everyone and hopes to celebrate the next Passover with them, adding that he had been a hostage of Hamas for over 200 days. This is significant since October 7th was 205 days ago, so the video must have been recorded very recently. Merin also said in the video, "My dear family, I missed you all. Father, my brother, my sister, Shai, my love, Roni, and Alma, my dear daughters. This year, we were not able to celebrate any holiday together because of this damn war. I hope that at least the next holiday, Independence Day, we can celebrate all of us together. I've been in captivity of Hamas for 202 days. The situation is not pleasant. There are a lot of bombs. It's time to reach a deal that will get us out of here safe and sound." Both of these men also said in the video that they hoped the Israeli government would participate in negotiations for a deal to release the hostages, adding that they have seen the demonstrations in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. They expressed their hopes that there would be a deal soon, but also their worry that a lot of time has passed and there is still no deal. I'm not quoting the hostages word by word, because it is likely that most of these words were dictated by their captors and meant for psychological warfare and propaganda against Israel. Please spread the truth. This is a war between courage and lies, between good and evil. By helping us spread the truth together, we will win this battle. Switching focus now to the Northern Front. The American newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, quoted a senior IDF official this week as saying that the best way to get out of the situation that Hezbollah has created there is to escalate for the sake of calm. This comes after Hezbollah rejected proposals made by the French and the Lebanese government to scale back their attacks on Israel. In the last 24 hours, air raid alarms were heard in the Kiryat Shmona and Metula communities, and the air defense system intercepted a suspicious target over the Manara area. In addition, a number of anti-tank missiles were fired from Lebanese territory into the Manara area. The IDF attacked the sources of the fire, and the Air Force attacked a military structure of Hezbollah in the area of Kuza, as well as the Baalbek Valley in southern Lebanon. The strikes resulted in the elimination of Matzab Khalaf, a senior member of the terrorist organization Jamala Islamiyah, who participated in many terrorist plots against Israel and cooperated with Hamas terrorists in Lebanon. Also, in the last 24 hours, Air Force fighter jets attacked military buildings belonging to Hezbollah in the areas of Tir Harfa and Aita Ashayeb in southern Lebanon, while IDF tanks engaged threats in the areas of Yair and Daharia, as well as the vicinity of Mount Dov, Har Dov in Israel. Please help us spread the truth. And the reason to spread the truth is, first of all, to understand what is really happening here. But the most important thing is to pray. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem and for the situation in the Middle East. Switching our focus again to the anti-Israel protests taking place on US university campuses. Please allow me to share my personal opinion based on my observations. These protests are being fueled by money and professional agitators who are hired to inflame the spirits and expand the demonstrations. Israel needs to make a serious effort to counter them if we want to avoid a repeat of some of the worst episodes of anti-Semitic violence, such as we saw in the 19th and 20th centuries. The demonstrations are being fueled by lies spread on social media about the situation in the Gaza Strip, including that there is a famine there that Israel is deliberately imposing. This is a lie, and it can easily be refuted with the truth. But the Biden administration is trying to be balanced in its approach, and that includes demonstrations to a domestic audience that, alongside the large amounts of aid it sends to Israel, it also knows how to criticize Israel, and this has unfortunately included echoing slogans about a famine in Gaza, which are simply not true. In this way, the administration gave validity to the false narrative of Hamas and also added validity to another false narrative that Israel was committing a genocide in Gaza. These false narratives have been spread unchecked on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and have led to the demonstrations going from a silly demonstration of political correctness to demonstrations of physical and verbal violence. This includes attempts to hunt Jews and Israeli students in order to vent the anger and violence of the protesters. The situation at Columbia University went so far where, due to the protests, the faculty member, Professor Shai Davidia, was banned from entering the campus. Some of the lecturers themselves joined the protests and the rioting students, and the president of the university decided that until the end of the year, the studies at the university will only take place on Zoom. There are those who say, well, this too will calm down at some point when the war ends. I don't think so. I think this is a very dangerous phenomenon that could spread beyond the boundaries of the universities in the US to Europe and other Western countries. This will build anti-Semitic momentum that will not disappear at the end of the war, and it will spread and take on forms. Above all, it will be a main feature in shaping the views of the current students, who are the future generation of leadership in the US and Western countries. Surely, some are asking, so what can we do about it? And they say, let the Western countries take care of what is happening in their sphere. But I believe that if Israel does not make a special, targeted, and aggressive effort against these phenomena, it will be difficult for us to deal with it at a later stage. When I say special effort, I do not mean advocacy, since we have already tried this and not with much success. So what can be done? For one thing, I will take a serious investment of money, which is what our enemies are already doing. Demonstrations like this for such a long time with shirts, signs, work on social networks, filming videos, distribution systems, organization, and all of this does not happen by itself. They require activists to work on it fully, and in fact require a lot of money, according to various publications in the American press. The money comes from many sources, including Arab governments, but also from private funders in the United States itself. All of this must be countered by an explicit statement from the White House, countering the false narrative that there is a famine or a genocide in the Gaza Strip. There must also be an investigation of where all the money that was used to spread these false narratives come from. There are many anti-Semitics who are participating in and funding these protests, and they must be exposed. This will require Israel to take a very serious effort and be willing to spend serious money on a counter campaign to expose the truth. As mentioned, we are at war, but it is not just a military war. It is also a media war and a war for public opinion. In the face of public protests against Israel, which these days is turning into an open anti-Semitic protest, which has a change of shaping the next generation of leadership in the US, even after the war is way over, it is time to build a counter effort. This will need to include special Israeli headquarters that will work to expose the funding sources, including both inside and outside of the United States. So please, this is the time to turn up the volume and share the truth as loud as you can. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps us. This is a war between good and evil. Pray for the safety of Israel. Pray for the peace of the abductees. Pray for the IDF, and most importantly, pray for the peace of Jerusalem.